I mean spring, I mean something, it's sunny, who cares? Welcome to the United Church of Christ in Warminster. We are an open and affirming community of faith where all people are welcome, wherever you are on life's journey, whether you're in spring or summer, whatever season of life you're in. We're glad you've come to join us here. For those of you on Periscope, welcome. We're glad you've come to join us too in whatever kind of weather you are experiencing right now. And today we continue on with what we'll be doing all summer, which is having more conversational times during the message. So I invite you to continue to engage both me and the scriptures as we have more time sort of centered on talking in a sort of a dialogue manner about our story today. So today's question, just in case you forgot or you weren't here last Sunday, is what is faith to you? So what does faith mean to you personally? So we're going to address that question today, and there's so many ways to look at it. So I invite you to sort of do it personally. What does faith mean to you? And then one step further, can faith lead to healing? Can faith lead to healing? And if so, how? Big questions. So we'll be sort of thinking about those questions, and we hope the music and the scripture and the prayers will lead you into a more deep discussion and more of a meaningful discussion, the way you can apply it to your lives. So let's join ourselves, let's join our Spirit of God who is here with us today as we worship together.
Praise
God is indeed great, and the Spirit of God is present in our lives and present in this place. That's why when we connect to each other, we're actually embracing that idea. That whenever we gather together, God's Spirit is here. When we're out there at school or at home or at work, God's Spirit is there. And when you're alone, or you think you're alone, God's Spirit is there. An amazing thing. So I invite you to pass the peace, a way that we reconnect to each other and reconnect to the presence of the Spirit of our God. May the peace of Christ be with you. Share that peace with one another.
Peace. Like once every 2 or 3 weeks. So if it's only been a few days, it's always better to call it.
Interacting together, fellowshipping together. A song called My Hope Is in You, and I think we have a little helper here. You know, what's beautiful about our times together is that we bring hope to one another, don't we? And part of faith is hope. Let's explore that together as we sing this song. I'm with you, and my soul is
trust comes in, love goes out. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust.
So that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit.
When I am afraid,
I put my trust in you.
Glimpses of the Spirit. A time when we reconnect sort of in a celebratory manner to say, something good happened this week. And sometimes that something good might be big, it might be particularly small, or maybe it's medium-sized, I don't know. But glimpses of the Spirit are those moments that you say, I'm alive. And you look at yourself and say, there's a God at work in me, even sometimes when I feel that God's presence is far away. So this is that sort of reconnect time where we center ourselves in being grateful. So I'll share real quick. My glimpse of the Spirit right now is I have a group from Baltimore. They're from Christian Temple. It's a Disciples of Christ congregation. That denomination is like our sister congregation in UCC. They'll actually be joining us at National Youth Event in Florida. So these are university students from Baltimore, and they've come for service learning in Philadelphia. They do that every year during Memorial Day weekend. So they've been at Share and Urban Tree Connection, two places that we serve at as well. That's why I totally got burned yesterday. But it's been a real glimpse of the Spirit for me to see university students who really care enough to give up that weekend, where they could be doing other things. And here they are in Philly, a city that's not even their own, helping and doing good stuff. And we were at a mosque on Friday, and today they're doing, right now, they're doing Buddhist meditation, which is another cool thing. I think that as Christians, they are embracing also the idea of learning about other faith Christians and how they can cooperate with them. So that's my glimpse of the Spirit being with these college students. What are your glimpses of the Spirit?
Yes. One of our neighbors is actually from Kenya, and she came over, decided to come over and see me. I said, cool. I didn't even know her yet, but I got to meet her, and she's a wonderful Christian person. And she actually wanted us to take a look at her kitchen. She's remodeling a kitchen, so she thought, this guy can help us. But no,
Since he did all our kitchen.
Since they did her so Herb and I, Herb Bulk and I went over on Wednesday, and it was just nice to be a part of it.
Thanks. Yes. Nice, you get to go on the trip, that's good. Yeah.
I fixed my daughter's computer and testing it. I put it on and FaceTime with my granddaughter. Had a real, like 3 or 4 minute conversation with her.
That's nice. In that case, technology is pretty amazing. Yeah. I don't know what I do without Skype or FaceTime.
Oh yeah.
Other things you like to share with grateful for? Yes.
Last weekend, they put new carpet in my classroom. Why in the middle? Well, why during school? I don't know. But the glimpse of the Spirit was I was going back to work Monday morning, dreading. I put all my furniture back, and I got in and some angels, and the other teacher had put everything back in place. I walked into brand new carpet and everything back in place. It's like, wow.
Well, that doesn't happen all.
No, not much at all.
Yes.
I had to get some blood drawn this week, and I was expected to sit there waiting 20 minutes for somebody to show up in kind of a grumpy mood. And what happened is this really vivacious young woman showed up, drew the blood. She was just as sweet as could be. Her name's Ray, and it was just a totally different experience from what I expected.
It's great when those random things happen.
Yeah.
Even drawing blood.
My glimpse of this morning, of the Spirit this morning, was Maury, who very graciously worked around an error that I had made and used her giftedness to make things happen. So thank you to you for expressing the Spirit to me. And also just the beauty of yesterday, a little hot, but actually the first day that I could put my flowers in the ground, who were asking me every day to put them in the ground. I'm like, please, we need to, we're not getting that water. And my one daughter who was willing to help me. It was just a sweet time. And, those are beautiful moments in the busyness of life to actually do something like that together. And even the glimpse of the relationship that God and the triune God has together. So just some beautiful moments, and I thank Him for that.
Yes.
Yeah, last night I went to bed early, and as I was lying there, my daughter and son-in-law and grandson and granddaughter and my dog and their dog all came in and piled on my bed with me. And they all said how happy they felt when I was there with them. That was just priceless.
That's a true dog pile, too. Sorry, I couldn't resist. You set me up for that one.
You have to say, you know.
That's right.
I have enough of those with plastic bags.
Last night, Caroline and I, my sister, and my niece and nephew had the opportunity to attend a 40th birthday party for a gentleman who I've known since I think I was 10 and he was 3. Oh, no, I just gave away my age, I think. He has some serious handicapping conditions, lives in a group home. He's the younger brother of one of my good friends from childhood. And it was amazing to see over 150 people come to a party because this man has been able to touch people's lives in ways that some of us can't even imagine. And they wanted to have a party for him that would be, they described it as his wedding, his bachelor party, his graduation party, and his retirement party, all the things that he won't actually experience. And it was really just a blessing to see so many people come out and share their love for this man.
Yeah.
Last night, me and my dad went to Jimmy Duck for dinner, and then we went to the Angry Birds movie, and we saw the Angry Birds. And my favorite part was when the chef went to the wall.
Oh, don't give it away. Maybe just kidding. That's great. You had a good time today. I'm pretty sure you have most of it memorized by now, right? I can see that. Thanks, Luna. Oh, yeah.
This kid named Thomas was playing on the other weekend because he's saying from college, and we're gonna try to do it again. And he a couple days ago, I was on by with him, and they followed me and I left the Paul's house, and I said, my street before I went, I said, I'm so teaching Anthony. And then when we got to Mom said, no, don't do that. It would be mean, and that was kind of very confusing.
It's good when you stand up to somebody. And one last thing I'll just say, I forgot. We brought the flowers. That raised this thought. So I have these yellow irises from Iowa that my mom brought when we moved like many years ago. The bulbs, right? And so I have this tiny little, you'll see Sophie are coming 30, but this tiny little patch of dirt in front of my row house. And so I put them there thinking that nothing would happen, and I didn't really do anything to it. You know, I'm not kind of gardener. I just let it be. I'm like, nature, take your course. I'm not doing anything to you. And wow, oh my gosh, this year there were like 20 of these irises, like just like 3 days ago bloomed, and so all my neighbors were like, "What is this?" And so my Korean neighbor who speaks no English at all and always talks to me a lot. So just frame your mind around that.
That's if you have to see him to church.
Right. Well, I have 3. Well, she does go to church. She does have a pastor, and so I know 3 phrases, and 2 of them involve saying that I'm a pastor and go to a church. So after the "Annyeonghaseyo, how are you? Good morning," kind of thing, she's like pointing to the flowers, and she has like some scissors and some other tool, and she's like pointing to me, and I'm like, "You want one?" And she did. So after like 15 minutes of negotiation with hand signals in her Korean and my terrible Korean and grunting, finally I figured out that she wanted to take some out, so she did, and now she's planting them over her little plot. And so I thought that was like it was the spirit that communication. We overrate language in a lot of things, and there's so many ways that we communicate and can have connections with people. So she's my Korean grandma, and now she's gonna have Iowa bulbs. So with that, let's just take a moment and pause. And what I'd like to do today, you don't have to do it out loud if you don't wish, but I'd like for you to we're going to first take a moment to think about the things that are happening in our life right now, even small things, that we sometimes forget to count. I know it's kind of a cliche, but it's true that if you think about it, like there's this whole practice that a lot of different spiritual folks do, of different traditions, to say, what if every day you just made a list of 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for or happy about? If you did that for a whole month, I'm not good at math, but if you did that for a whole month, it'd be quite a few things at the end of the month, right? Maybe like 90 or something. And you know, it's a simple thing, and maybe it's cliche, but I think we don't do it enough. Just to say, what are the things today in this moment that I'm grateful for? And maybe it's as simple as, I got out of bed. I had a terrible day yesterday. I didn't want to be alive, and today I got out of bed. I mean, sometimes I have those days. So that's the first thing I want you to do. Just think about just a few things you're just grateful for. And then the second thing, people. Maybe, like Mary's story is a great story. The connections, like Michael, not a great situation, kind of being crabby and going into that, but then having this connection with somebody. Who are the people in your lives that you're thankful for? So let's start there. Let's take a moment and think about the things that you're just grateful for. You can even say them out loud if you wish. So let's just take a moment and do that. God, we thank you for the little things or even the bigger things in life that we forget to list. So today, God, we are grateful for And God, there are people who may have had connections with us our whole lives, or maybe someone we just recently connected with. God, who are the people now? Who are they? The people we're grateful for in this moment. God, in the scripture stories, we see a phrase quite often in the Gospels, it's turn around. And often it's translated as repent, but literally it's an action of turning. And in our story today, we see Jesus himself turning. And that turning is sometimes an act of faith, an act of surprise that God's Spirit is in places we didn't expect to see it. So as we continue in our worship and in our journey of life, God, help us to find those connections with people, those random connections we didn't expect, or those things that we've forgotten that we're grateful for. May this be so.
So one of the things that I love the most about our time together each Sunday morning is that we're very process-oriented. This is a place that we all have the freedom, and Josh gives us this freedom every week. At one point or another, he says it in the service, that there's not some expectation on each one of us to come to some kind of conclusion about whatever we're talking about. But this is a place to discover and to look into these things and see where we are. We're talking about faith today. And anytime that I choose songs that we sing, I usually try to choose them in a way that it helps us process through whatever we're talking about. And this morning is no exception to that. And the reason I bring this up is because I want you to know that even as we sing and as we present songs, it's not a command to you to process it, even in the way that it might be coming out of the song. But it is an opportunity to process it wherever you are. And let the Lord take you wherever you need to be with Him. Faith is a very core concept. It cuts to the very core of who we are, our very life experience, and it may be different from one day to the next. So as we go through this set of songs, let it be that for you, this discovery of where you are, and a discovery of the beautiful God that hands you grace and mercy every minute of every day and love. And He is welcoming you to discover. Jim is going to lead us in this song called What Faith Can Do.
Every minute falls sometimes. God finds strength to rise.
ocean floor, with me in the calm, with me in the storm. Sing it together. Sovereign in the mountain air, sovereign on the ocean floor, with me in the calm, with me in the storm. Sovereign in my greatest joy, sovereign in my deepest cry, with me in the dark, with me in the dawn. In your everlasting arms, hold the pieces of my life, from beginning to the end. I can trust you. In your never failing love, you work everything for good. God, whatever comes my way, I will trust you. Sovereign in the mountain air, sovereign on the ocean floor, with me in the calm, with me in the storm. Sovereign in my greatest joy, sovereign in my deepest cry, with me in the dark, with me in the dawn. In your everlasting arms, all the pieces of my life, from beginning to the end, I can trust you. In your never failing love, you work everything for good. God, whatever comes my way, I will trust you. God, whatever comes my way, I will trust you. All my hope, all my need, in your hands. All my life, all my peace, held in your hands. All my fears, all my dreams, held in your hands. Sing it again with me. All my hope, all my need, held in your hands. All my life, all of me, held in your hands. All my fears, all my dreams, held in your hands. In your everlasting arms, all the pieces of my life, from beginning to the end, I can trust you. In your never failing love, you work everything for good. God, whatever comes my way, I will trust you. God, whatever comes my way, I will trust you. Whatever comes my way, I will trust you.
You brought your drum? You might need that. Oh, here's Corey. Hi, Corey. How are you today? It's okay, shy baby. Come here. Oh, are you shy today? Oh, she wants to play. Oh, maybe we're hoping you'd sit next to her. Maybe. There we go. Oh, we got it. Okay. I wonder if you can tell me some things that are amazing. What do you think? Movies. That is amazing. They just turn something on and you can see all of the action in front of you. I have no idea how that works. That is amazing. What else is amazing? What's amazing to you?
Playing music.
Playing music is amazing? I think so too. Food is amazing? Yeah. What do you think is amazing?
Cars.
Cars are, I have no idea how cars work. Do you know? Here's what I know. I get in, I put the thing, I turn, off I go. That's amazing.
Everything is amazing.
Almost a lot of things. Yeah, maybe everything is amazing. We're going to hear a story.
Do you like my dress?
I do like your dress.
Because it's amazing.
I like your dress too. Yes. Everybody's got good clothes on today. Did you like my dress?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, and Mommy has a dress on. A lot of us wear dresses today. All right, we are going to hear a story about something Jesus found amazing. Whoop. You don't like your phone?
How do I do it?
After Jesus had finished all his sayings in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. A centurion there had a slave whom he valued highly, and who was ill and close to death. When he heard about Jesus, he sent some Jewish elders to him, asking him to come and heal his slave. When they came to Jesus, they appealed to him earnestly, saying, "He is worthy of having you do this for him, for he loves our people, and it is he who built our synagogue for us." And Jesus went with them. But when he was not far from the house, the centurion sent his friends to say to him, "Lord, do not trouble yourself, for I am not worthy to have you come under my roof. Therefore I did not presume to come to you. But only speak the word, and let my servant be healed. For I also am a man set under authority, with soldiers under me. And I say to one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to another, 'Come,' and he comes, and to my slave, 'Do this,' and the slave does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him. And turning to the crowd that followed him, he said, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." When those who had been sent returned to the house, they found the slave in good health.
So, did you pick up what Jesus was amazed by? I'm going to retell you the story a little bit. Hugs. They are amazing, aren't they? So there was someone in the story who was very, very sick. And someone who knew him went to Jesus and said, "Can you make this person all better?" And Jesus was going to go do that. He was going to go make that person all better. But what happened was the person said, "I believe so much in you, and I trust you so much that I think you can make this person all better even by just standing here." And Jesus was amazed that this man believed in him so much. And I haven't heard too many stories where Jesus was really surprised during his life. But he was so surprised that this man had such faith in him. He said he was amazed. Do you think you can have... A cat is sitting on her head. That is amazing. Do you think you can have so much faith in Jesus that you could amaze him? Do you think you could? We're going to pray about that. Let's say a prayer. Dear God, thanks for this story, and thanks for teaching us that you are amazed and surprised when we show our faith in you. And help us to do that every day. In your name we pray. Amen. Right, I think Angela and Caroline are going to the nursery, right? And Kitty probably, right? Meow.
You think that's the way my kitty talks?
You can't, but then back away.
Meow, meow. That's how kitty talks.
I wish I talked like a kitty. I could just get away with meow meow and different fluctuations of meow meow. So for those of you who weren't here last week, we started doing what's called conversational sermons or dialogical sermons. And I think it was great. I really appreciate your participation, and it's just the first week. So here we are in week 2, and so I invite you as we get better at this, and I get better at this hopefully. Hope that happens too. And by the way, I was talking with Jim today, and we were saying, what's amazing? Well, I was looking up at these puffs, and I was like, those are amazing. Because like Jim said, they remind you of the Lorax. Anybody? Right?
Yes.
You're right, Laura.
Yes.
All right. Sorry, I just had to say that because they are amazing. Amazing purple Lorax puffs. So, anywho, what's really interesting about this type of message, this type of sermon, is it's a lot more work. So here's my process for doing this today is I go through the scripture story, which you just read, and then I sort of look at sort of the stuff that's kind of screaming at me or telling me that I'm important, listen to me, pay attention to me. And then if I need to, if I don't remember some of the sort of background information, then I do some more research and sort of remind myself about that. And then after I do that, I have to pare that down by like 2/3. So like I can only include 1/3 of what I actually do because it's a lot, to try to sort of draw out the main points. And then I also have to keep in mind that we're going to have a conversation. So some of the personal thoughts that I have, I also have to sort of get to the point. See what I'm getting at? So I'm a very conversational type of person, as you know. I like to talk. Maria knows that too. So it's really a lot of work, but it's good work. So I hope as I get better at this, we'll also get better as a community doing this. And I know not everybody here is used to doing this, but I would really encourage you to try also our online interaction. So there is a blog. I always post it every week on the Facebook page of the church, and you can actually make comments, or you can email me, but you can make comments on the blog. And it's a good way that we can sort of converse about these things even weeks after we do it. So even if there's like a message or something that you don't think about, but then like 2 or 3 weeks later, you're like, oh, you know what? Now it comes to mind what I wanted to say, you can go back and do that. So I encourage you to please do that. And every week I'll be giving you a teaser for next week, so that gives you a chance to sort of think about it. All right, enough talking. So the questions that I put out there for you, the first one is, what is faith to you? What does it mean to you? And I don't mean, what were you taught? What does the church tell you? What does your weird pastor tell you? What do you think? What does faith mean to you? So personalize it. And then a really, really hard and emotional question. Can faith lead to healing? Do you think that? And if so, how? All right, so some background. Here we are in Luke's gospel, and that should, every time we say any name of any gospel, there should be bells going off in our heads because each gospel is so really different from the other gospels. So keep that in mind. We're in Luke, and this is a gospel story right after Jesus of Nazareth gives his famous Sermon on the Plain. It's often called the Sermon on the Mount, but it really isn't a mount. It's more of a plain. So we have that story first. And then after that, he's headed, it appears, right, to the town of Capernaum. So this is one of those rare times, at least in my perspective about what I know about Luke's gospel, when the author of Luke, who also is the author of the book of Acts, makes it clear that there is a literary agenda. See, Luke's gospel is what I would like to call a bridge gospel, meaning that Luke is trying to bridge a gap between 2 cultures and even 2 religions. So Luke is trying to help Jews of the time and non-Jews, who are often called Gentiles, find some common ground as it pertained to this one historical figure, Jesus of Nazareth. So at times, Jesus in Luke's gospel is portrayed as quite Jewish, if you pay attention, but in such a way as to attract Gentiles to his message. Hope that makes some sense. So then in our story today, enter the centurion. Now the centurion was a man who commanded soldiers and servants. He was a prime authority figure. And he was a Gentile. And he was most likely someone in that time and in that culture who would be considered non-religious. That's a term we would use, not necessarily in this culture and time, but today we would consider him to be non-religious. But the centurion, for some reason, loved deeply one of his many servants. We don't know why, but he did. A servant who happened to be seriously ill, like almost dead kind of ill. So maybe for the first time, this is what I hear, the centurion felt helpless. He had no authority all of a sudden. He had no control over the situation, and that was new to him for sure. So this centurion, who obviously had heard of this Jesus, understood only one option. Have Jesus, another authority figure, right, heal his servant. So yes, it's a story about authority, 100%. Notice that the centurion didn't face Jesus, not have this sort of battle, one authority to another. Notice that he sent Jewish elders to talk to Jesus. Okay, that's a head scratcher, right? Jewish elders? What in the world? Well, Luke's author gives us a clue. Apparently, this particular centurion loved, that's the word used here, loved the Jewish people. Loved the Jewish people. He even helped them build, he financed it really, a synagogue in Capernaum. Okay, now I get it, right? The centurion was now turning in some favors. You get it? Right? So he had done this favor for the Jewish community, and now he was like, can you do me? Can you like hook a brother up here? Can you do me a favor? Right? All right, so the Jewish elders, of course, obliged, because in their culture and their religious practice, that was really important. You had to, if somebody did a favor for you, you needed to return that favor. Culture really begged that. So they went to Jesus. We don't know if these particular Jewish elders, because Luke doesn't care in this story, we don't know if these particular Jewish elders were for or against or neutral as it pertained to Jesus' teachings. That's interesting that Luke doesn't mention that at all. Apparently, the Jewish elders came to Jesus. They asked him to go to Capernaum and to help the centurion's servant, no questions asked. So Jesus did make his way to Capernaum, right? But on the way, Luke throws in another twist. Jesus was just about to arrive at the centurion's house, and then the centurion sends someone else to mediate. He won't even face Jesus. Again, this time it's the centurion's friends. And the message is this: Jesus, don't come out. Jesus, don't come to my house. I'm not worthy to receive you in my house. But if you just speak a word, my servant will be healed. The centurion isn't even willing to meet Jesus face to face. And in that culture, showing hospitality to someone, especially someone you consider to be an authority, was a big deal. So the fact that he chooses not to is also a big deal. He's not willing to meet Jesus face to face or accept him into his house, but he's willing to accept Jesus' authority to heal. Just as a centurion was used to ordering people what to do, perhaps this Jesus could order sickness to leave this one person the centurion cared about. We don't really know the centurion's motivation. We're left, I like this about Luke's story, we're left to sort of make our own conclusions. But Jesus, in Luke's version of the story, is clearly moved. He marveled. I love the message today, Maury. He marveled. Amazing. He marveled at the centurion. And then, it says in the Greek, he literally turned. And that is so important for us to pay attention to. Because each time that Jesus turns in the Gospels, and it is not often, 6 times in Luke's Gospel in particular, each time he turns, it is important. Jesus said he had not seen more faith than that of the centurion, even in Israel. Now, does that mean that there was no faith at all in Israel? In Jesus' own people, the Jews? Well, no, of course not. What it meant was that this centurion, a non-Jew, non-religious person, surprised everyone, including Jesus, by having faith. And then almost like an afterthought, right? In the stories, we get all this great, sort of authority stuff, and then as an afterthought, the story's like, oh, and by the way, the guy got healed, he got it. Dude, it's so funny, right? It's like, yeah, I'll just throw that in at the end. Right. Happy ending. So at first glance, I don't know about you, for me, at first glance I thought, okay, this is a story about faith, right? But the more I was digging into it, no, maybe it's not. At least not in the way that we often talk about faith, right? This story is about perceived authority, and then about humility, letting some of that go. You see, the centurion realized that he was not in control, probably for the first time in his life. Those of us who are micromanagers from time to time, you know what I'm talking about, right? When you're not in control, it really stinks, right? You're like, what am I going to do, right? So the centurion had to find a place of humility, a place where he could admit, I can't do anything to help this guy who's dying. I need help. He found humility. And in this case, that is called faith in this story. So from my perspective, if you were to ask me, what is faith? What does faith mean to you? I'd say in this story today, faith is about giving up our desire to control everything in life. It's about giving up our desire to control everything in life. And realizing that there are some things that are out of our hands. And that leads me to say that if someone in general asks me, what does faith mean to you? It'll change every time I'm asked the question. Because I think that faith is defined by so many different things, and and experiences. And that's how I see faith. And in this particular story, it's about giving up the need to control everything. All right, I'm done. So, Q&A. What do you think? Let me first start by saying about the story. What things jumped out at you, or questions you have about the particular story itself? Anything jumps out?
I'm confused by the centurion's hesitance in having Jesus come to his house. I'm thinking of Jesus with Zacchaeus, that, come down from the tree. I'm coming to your house today, which was a big deal. And is he being rebuffed by the centurion? That part of it.
That's a good catch, actually, to compare that to the Zacchaeus story. Because, because culturally, it was really a big deal to invite someone, particularly somebody who's known, right, in certain circles, in this case religious circles, to your home. So it was a big production, and there were favors involved in all of that. So there's, again, we don't know the answer to that. I mean, I think Luke is sort of putting it out there to say.
Well, that it kind of makes me wonder, what was his motivation?
It's a great question. Because in Zacchaeus' case, we get this sort of intimate encounter, right? That just means a lot to Zacchaeus. It means a lot to Jesus, that he comes to his house. But here we don't get that.
Well, that was a big deal for him to go to somebody's house.
Yeah. It was a huge deal. Anything else that jumps out? Yeah.
Well, I think the centurion is used to having other people do things, and couldn't come up with any ideas, solutions for this particular problem except this one guy, Jesus. And so I might as well try him. He's not going to be part of my inner circle or anything like that. But I'll try him out. And it kind of, I was just thinking, maybe there's a parallel between our presidential campaign here. A lot of people have faith in somebody who says he's going to do everything. When that person becomes president, how is he going to handle that when he finds out he can't do anything? He's going to have to go find
That's true.
people that can do it. Now, whether he wants to associate with them, it's another story.
And it's actually relevant to bring that up, Michael, because in these gospel stories, we have to keep in mind that they're very political. There's political stuff going on underneath. And the centurion was certainly involved in it. So were the Jewish elders. Absolutely great. Yeah.
I wonder what centurion's bosses like. I mean, there's got to be people above him. There's
right, absolutely.
The pharaohs, whatever. What are they thinking about all he's done for the Jewish people too?
Yeah, I mean, it does beg the question in terms of what Roman authorities think about, you finance this synagogue. Was it done because it sort of appeased the people and got them to pay their taxes? Were there other favors done for that to happen? We don't know. We're left to wonder that. That's a great question too. What do the higher authorities, so-called authorities, think?
Maybe he does have faith, he's just hedging his back.
That's true too.
Same.
Yeah, because he seems like a systematic thinker, right? He had this all planned, and he had all these mediators do things for him. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go a little sideways.
Good. I like sideways.
That function.
That's right.
I find it a little distracting. If he loves this slave so much, why is he a slave? That's one point. Another point is, I've had this verse, this passage used sort of against me, in that kind of like saying you need to submit to authority, because this centurion says he's a man under authority.
Two really good points. The first point about slavery, and in Paul's letters, I think Jesus addresses it from time to time, but not as much. But Paul certainly addresses how this culture was embedded in the culture. We can't ignore that. Slavery was part of the culture. And one of the things that's been a struggle, I think obviously we know in the history of the United States, is how the Bible was used to sort of say slavery is fine. It's in the Bible, right? It must be fine. If it's in the Bible, it should be great, right? And of course, It's not. And I think too, I mean, I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I like your question about with the centurion, think about, not just having him be healed so that he can work for him, right? Because let's be honest, like, he gets healed, he gets better, what's he gonna do? He's gonna work for the centurion. So there's something in it for the centurion as well, right? Whether he loves him or not. So I actually think Luke, the author of Luke, was also playing with that. Because later on we get that image from Isaiah about the oppression and how people are slaves and they should be free. So there's that. And then the second part, I would like actually to make that our segue, thanks to how this passage can be used to sort of say, well, you need to submit to a particular authority. And you're right, it has been. It's been used in many different, parts of Christianity, different groups or levels of Christianity, to say to people, well, submit to this higher religious authority. To use that hierarchy, right? To say Jesus is here, then there's another authority, then there's you, right? So it just goes right up the ladder. So any more thoughts? I mean, let's go that direction. Any more thoughts about that? About authority itself? Yeah.
Well, I think in this passage, Jesus says he's amazed at the faith. Like you don't have to run through jump all these hurdles and go through all these hoops. You've got faith enough. I had a Sunday school teacher one time that she said that faith can move mountains, and she's teaching a bunch of kids, and she says, and she literally believed that if you have enough faith, you can say to a mountain, move. Well, I think it's a metaphorical thing, but we didn't know what that was, so we all felt we didn't have enough faith, that we couldn't make anything move at all,
Especially a mountain,
Yeah.
Even bulldozers have trouble doing that.
That's right.
No, and I think that's, definitely where I want to go now, is to sort of hear what you think about faith personally, because it can be something tricky. As I've told the story to some of you before, not all of you have heard it, that one of my first really strong experiences when I was doing CP or, doing sort of pastoral care in hospitals in seminary, I was in Robert Wood Johnson Hospital in Jersey, and there was a kid who was 16 years old, he was in a terrible car accident, he was dead, he's brain dead, but his mom still had him hooked up to the machine, and this is like 2 days that he's on this machine. And she's bringing in Christians she's bringing in people to come and pray over him and try to heal him. And then his friends come, they're all high school students, and they're in a circle, and the person there is telling them, you have to have faith. If you don't have faith, he's not gonna get healed. So you gotta send that, you gotta, give your faith now. And I'm looking at these kids and I'm like, this is, I'm in hell. I really felt that way. It was the worst thing I've ever felt in my life. And I was in this position where, what do I do? And so I went to the mom and I said, I know where you're coming from. I mean, it's horrible. It's horrible. Like, this is your son. But, do you really believe that? Do you really think that by, sort of pushing these people to have this sort of, what you call faith, that's going to save him? When the doctor's telling you that he's suffering, the doctor's literally told you, please take him off the machine. And she eventually did, the third day. I don't know why I said that, but it's true, the third day it happened. But that situation really affected me because I thought about, man, if that's what faith is, gosh, I don't know, It's not what it is to me today, but I'm saying that moment was one of those real tough moments. So again, what do you think? What is, when you think about that word faith or what it means to you, what does it mean to you personally? Yeah.
A couple things to say about what Michael was saying. Actually, we were flipping through Netflix a couple weeks ago. I found the movie Little Boy. It's very unknown, not very well known. And it's about literally this little boy through meditation and something else, not necessarily prayer, moves him out. And his faith is he's waiting for his daddy to come home from the war or something. So it's kind of neat.
Almost like a satire, but
It was interesting to see it from that perspective. Talking about the healing, what you were just saying, my mom kind of got stuck in that mode where when my dad was really getting ill, she kept praying, heal him, Lord, heal him, Lord, heal him, Lord. Now, that's a common thing for us to pray, but I believe in that case, and it was hard for my mom to understand for a long time, my dad's healing was dying because he was in so much pain. So you kind of like take that faith in different ways. So I don't know if that really happens. trusting in your God to heal Dad, that Dad was not going to be happy if he'd stay alive. So, I don't know. I mean,
Well, you just got into that really major theme is what is healing.
exactly.
Because we often assume it's physical
that
healing, right? Somebody's sick, like the
right.
centurion's, servant is sick. Healing means that it gets better.
That
But is that
goes to
really?
some sort of healing, right, versus faith, right?
Right.
Those
No,
are
you
the
did.
second
Let's
questions, yeah.
do it out. Other things, yeah.
Yeah, right along, Patty, with what you're saying is, so many times when there's stuff that's beyond our control, such as somebody that's really sick and dying, faith to me is give it to God and He'll know what to do, and He does. He took my husband home and it was fine. It was, instead of me praying, "Oh, make it better," it was the faith that he's going to be surrounded there by people he loves. And he's better, and we just get through it.
That would go to my other comment real quick, that when you talk about micromanaging, I am like probably the #1 micromanager. Marty and I are tied. I don't know. I think Marty and I are tied. I don't know. But there are certain times where I have to say that about everything. I have to say, wait, whoa, I can't change this. I can't change this. I can't change this. I gotta just let go and let God. And therefore, my faith.
That's a hard thing to do.
My husband has a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. That's good as my coach.
I think that you're saying a lot of the same things. That you believe that you're really part of something that's much bigger. That it's not just you, it's you and all humanity, or you're part of something bigger.
Lisa, what do you say?
Just like one thought that had popped into my mind, not elaborated on, just that how complicated it is, that word.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like when Patrick died, he wasn't going to get, but like all of his demons went away. I believe. So if I didn't believe that, it would be harder for me with him not here. But I believe that he's in a better place if he's not suffering anymore, and he doesn't have any more. And maybe he got the answer that he was searching for all of his life after that.
And you all are making choices right now. When you talk, and that's what I love about these conversations, is that you're defining faith, but you're making a choice to do that. And I think that, what I would say is, I think sometimes when I was younger and as an adolescent, your mind is still sort of like figuring out the world and everything. And I'm still doing it now, so maybe I'm still in that lesson as well. But I always thought that faith was something that kind of was just given almost, right? Like sometimes you talk about that in certain churches, that it's not really a choice, right? That you just say, oh, that person is just a person of great faith. So God's just blessed that person with so much faith. And it was almost like, so if I don't have that, then does that mean God's like, no faith for you, right?
I think that's sort of what I was going to say. I was first going to say, I think I failed the faith test pretty solidly. So I have no idea what it is. I feel like I know what it's not, and I feel like it's not currency, right? So I have 9, and so God will give me 9 blessings, and then I have 12. People are talking about, people who've passed and that they're healed, and I think that's true. I struggle so much more with the infant who's killed in a car accident, for example. Students I work with who are not able to communicate in any way, who abuse themselves physically because of their particular disabilities, and no amount of faith, I don't think, is going to cure that. Does God know what God's doing in that situation? I don't think so. I think God screwed up pretty badly, if I'm being honest, because that's not fair to go through life banging your head against the wall all day long because of neurological impairments that you have. I've had students who've blinded themselves. Did God know what God was doing? Did God allow her to do that or cause her to do that? So I think, I don't see God as a micromanager in that way. I don't really believe in prayer. I'm so glad the kids are not here. In terms of God, I'm asking you to fix this person who's blinding herself, and I know damn well you're not going to do it. I believe in personal healing, and I believe that I certainly believe in a higher power and a creator, but I really struggle because there's a lot of crap that goes on, and I see a lot of it myself, and it sucks.
I think you said that a non-belief in the currency type of prayer.
Right.
It's saying, I'm asking for this, you do this for me, I do this for you. I love you, God, so you will do this for me.
Right.
And it's sort of that contract, and we see that in some of the theology, not all of it, I'm not saying all, but in the Old Testament, you will see that as a contractual agreement.
Yep.
I am your God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I'm making a contract with you. So you, Israel, do this and this and this and this, and I will be with you. I will give you food, I will give you manna, etc., etc., etc. Now that changed, and sort of the way that people saw God changed. But I still think we sometimes have that mentality that I do A, B, C, and God will do these things for me. And then we apply that to people who are dead or dying. And when it doesn't happen, then we're left empty, saying, so.
Well, then we say God knew what God was doing.
Right.
Well, God's a jerk.
Right.
If that's the case, right?
You were gonna say.
I'm just going to say something when you were saying about the people around there and said, oh, you have to have faith. I hate when people use faith as a weapon. And that's what they're doing. Oh, if you don't have faith, it's not going to happen. You don't have faith, it's not going to happen. I mean, I agree with Mari, you never know, but a lot of times faith is a lot like trust. You have to trust that is why the situation happened. Is it always easy? No, like Mari said. I can't trust. I don't understand why children beat their heads off the wall. I don't understand why a child dies young. I don't understand why some people can have children and some people don't. I don't understand why people who are young have a lot of children and can't support them and don't care. There's a lot of things that we don't know. But the biggest thing that I look at is we have to stop using it as a weapon, because then it just convolutes everything, and then the faith, any kind of faith or hope anybody has, just goes downhill because we're told, well, it's your fault. And that's the thing. Well, you didn't have enough faith, so it's your fault. So then we, like I said, then it's used as a weapon against you, and it just will tear you down, because then why even bother?
It's one thing, great point, it's one thing to say, things happen for a reason and there's nothing random. But I think that can be a little bit dangerous. I think even in the Bible, both the Old and New Testaments, we have stories of people, especially the psalmists, who literally say, there's no explanation for it. And God sits with me in my grief, but there's no explanation. And to be able to say that, truthfully, to say, gosh, I don't have a reason for this. There's no good reason for this particular thing to happen. Yeah, Dory, you want to say something?
Well, thank you, Don, but that's just the really key point, I think, because we are in this place where faith becomes this commodity, and it's measured, and then we're measured by it. And I think what's fascinating about this story is when we go back to our earlier discussions, when we're kind of trying to figure out what's going on, and we've got all the politics in there, we've got the who thinks who about what, and why did he not receive him into his home and all that. But then it says that Jesus was amazed at him. And Mari, I so appreciate you bringing that out with the kids today. My gosh, we know that there are any number of subplots going on in this situation, basically, because we know what our lives are like, right? But Jesus, it's like he gave him the benefit of the doubt. It's like he took whatever that was communicated to Jesus as faith, and Jesus like, wow, I'm going to go do this. I just think that's a beautiful picture of how Jesus views this whole faith thing, and how we, maybe as a church community, Christian community,
so to speak, into it is I agree with Mari on a lot of levels. There is so much evil, you want to call it that, you want to put a word to that, in this world, that it is very hard to understand why our loving God that we're learning about a loving God would allow 9/11 to happen, would allow me to have a son with bipolar, would allow X, Y, and Z. It's such a question that, if God could stand here right now, and I could say face to face, why, or did you allow it? That's the other piece to it. Did you allow this to happen? That would be, we would have all the answers. But I think the way I view faith, also, if we come back full circle, is not knowing all the answers, I guess, but not accepting them either. Because I'm with Mari on that. I'm not going to accept the fact that, someone I just heard at school that someone lost triplets. I mean, that God allowed that to happen. So it's so personal. I think everything is so personal. But do I believe it in having faith? Yes. Do I believe that there's a bigger picture, a bigger grand scheme of things, good versus evil? Yes.
It's on.
I was saying it's personal. I think personal faith is somewhat what we're taught, and maybe not in certain circles. It doesn't get taught that way. Get taught more of a community faith. But I think as you grow in your Christian world, in your Christian life, faith becomes an ability that not only your community helps you out, but you can help yourself get to where you need to go with your faith, because your faith there is your relationship with saying, okay, it's going to be okay later in life, or it's going to be okay. I just have to persevere and get through all these hard times, all this CRIP in my life, to try to get through and see that, okay, I'm actually going to see it. And there's always faith that there is a heaven out there for people that have dealt with all these things in their life, and things hopefully are easier up there as we're promised. So that's the faith I think I look for, is the perseverance to continue on in this life, which is tough at times, because there's something coming that's
Like listening to everybody, and myself included, sometimes faith seems to be conditional. But what I feel coming from the scriptures with Christ or God, it's unconditional faith for him is unconditional.
Yes.
One thing to remember is we all struggle with faith. Just remember, Jesus himself struggled with faith. Right before he was put on that cross, he was wondering, why me? He wasn't like, oh, I have faith that I'm just going to, this is what God wants.
This is gonna go well.
Right, this is what God wants me to do. He struggled with that. He was like, I don't want to do this. Why me? Why me?
So I just want to make I'm not sure that's what God wanted him to do. I think that's what soldiers wanted him to do, and some Jewish leaders, or Roman leaders, and Jewish leaders. And so I just want to be clear in my point that I don't think God is a micromanager in allowing things to happen. I think maybe God doesn't have the power. I don't know. But
back to the authority question.
Right? So I just want to be clear that I'm saying that I'm not sure that God allows anything to happen or causes anything to happen.
Wow.
Uh-oh.
Wow, no, I wasn't. I was just agreeing with Mari on that. And I did, when I saw this is a hard question for me.
It is.
And I thought, when I thought about things, I thought, this is too simple, or this doesn't make sense. I even started looking it up and, Googling it and finding things to read. And what it came down basically to me was just in its simplest form. Faith for me is just the belief that there is a divine presence, there is a God, there is something out there, and that my life matters with what I do with it. That there's a reason I'm here. And that's without all the other things, that's what it came down for me, that there is something out there, and that I was here for a reason, or to do whatever little things that I could do to make the world a better place. And I know that's very simplistic, and I thought that's why I need to hear what other people are saying.
But I think it's a circle back moment, because I was going to do that. I was going to circle back to something that Tom said that may seem simplistic, but it's also something I think that we do share in common, is that when we think about whether you want to call it a higher power, authority, God, Christ, Spirit, but being connected to something greater. Say it's not just about me looking at this guitar pick and saying, this is worth nothing. But there's some point to all this, like for me breathing right now and connecting with you. You know, there's some point to our relationships with each other that we can actually do something good with another person. Even if it's just one or two people, that we actually help them, make their lives better, right? There's a purpose there to that. And I do believe in connection. And that's, so to bring this to the end, we need to, I mean, it's great, so let's keep doing this. But I also want to draw out something that Dom said, which is the word trust. So for me, it's really hard to talk about faith, especially with people who are struggling to look past a sort of narrow viewpoint about faith. But trust is helpful. Trust is usually a very helpful word to use with people, because we have trust in relationships, right? Or mistrust. So one of the things that I've been dealing with some of my friends who are really going through terrible situations, is dealing with that trust, to say, well, you trust a person, let's say a friend, right, to be there and pick you up at 7 o'clock. And then your friend comes at 8, right? So the trust is broken, right? This is something we accept in life. We say that's normal. Okay, how come we don't do that in a relationship with God? How come we don't say, I trusted God that this would pan out this way, and it didn't happen? You look at the Bible, you look at the psalmists, you look at the stories, people did that. They questioned God. They said, why did this happen? I trusted you. I did all the things you said to do, or what I thought that you said to do, and then this happened, right? Yeah, and I think there's wisdom there to be able to say that, to not be afraid to say that and to ask those questions. The last thing I'll say, then I'll shut up, give you the teaser, which is that whatever we see about the centurion and this very mysterious character, I want to go back to what Lori said, that it's significant that Jesus turns and is amazed by it, because if you look at the other stories, and you can Google this, it'll be fun, as Pam said, Google it, right? You can Google this, that if you look at the other stories where Jesus turns, one of the stories, which is one of my favorites, is the bleeding woman who's trailing him. Terrible life, horrific life, shunned from society, bleeding for years. Just reaching, if I just reach out and touch his cloak, Jesus is so stunned he feels power leave him, feels authority leave him. Now, I look at it metaphorically, but however you want to look at it is up to you. And he turns and he's just amazed by this, right? Those are the stories when he turns. It's always, however you want to define faith, but it's always the actions of people you didn't expect. It's a surprise. It's not the religious authorities. It's not the people you expect to have this great faith. It never is. So I leave you with that, because that's, for me, the good news in this story. Okay, next week will be also good. But we can continue this conversation. So like I said, let's keep it going. Next week, we're still in Luke chapter 7, verses 11 through 17. It's a story about a young man who had died in a certain town, and he was his mother's only son. And then Jesus sees this woman mourning, has compassion for her, and then I'll just do ... So the questions for you are, have you ever felt like you were dead? Have you ever felt like you were dead? I'll leave you to think about what that means for you. But have you ever felt like you were dead? And why was that? And do you think that we can rise from the dead in this life? Drop the mic. All right. Have you ever felt dead? And do you believe that we can rise from the dead in this life? Okay. So thank you so much. Man, this could keep going for a long time. That's the whole point. So thank you so much for all of your great wisdom and insight. So now let's sort of apply that a bit to our prayer time. And I think you brought out some great things about prayer too, which I'm still going to be thinking about this week, because it makes me think about what we do here as well, and hopefully that it reflects kind of the diversity of ideas about prayer that we have as a community. So I hope we can keep getting better at that, what prayer means to us. So that being said, what would you like to share in this time of prayer as we focus on those who may need healing or connection? Yeah.
Talked to my mom this week, which was like a bonus for me. I don't get to talk to them that much. They have, over the last few months, they've been losing friends. They just lost another very good friend. It's like the fourth one they've lost in the last 6 months. And these are all people I knew too and I grew up with, and just healing prayers for their families. And, you know, I pray for my parents because it's also a reminder to me that my parents aren't getting any younger either. And watching their friends pass away, you know, puts a profound effect on me because, you know, I'm far away from them and I don't get to see them a lot. And it just makes me think about their mortality as well. So prayers for my family and prayers for the families of their friends who have passed.
Prayers for Dom's family and prayers for the friends who recently lost one of them.
I'm on the same note. I think we pray for healing of someone or something. It's more for ourselves, for hope. You know, praying. Not that we say, okay, you know, now I'm going to be unhappy if it doesn't happen, but it's just hope that this person will get better. So that helps us.
Absolutely, and I think prayer is both, you know, for both people. I mean, it's both for you and for also the person you pray for. Because like I said, I think I said it at the mosque on Friday for prayer, and they're getting ready for Ramadan. And it was the first time I'd seen this in a mosque, but they did something similar to this at the end of the standard prayers. One of the leaders got up and said, well, I just want to thank everybody for praying for my family, because my daughter's been going through a rough time. She's still going through it, but I just want to, I feel your support. I feel your support. I feel it. Another person kind of said a similar thing. I feel your support. And I think that's it. You know, I mean, maybe it doesn't work out the way you hope, but you know you have people who care about you, that you're going through these things. You know, that's a significant thing. It really is, both for you and the person you're praying for.
Just to add to that, nice to see my mom yesterday. It's been a tough week for me with the family.
Prayers for your mom, your dad, and whole family. Yes?
Prayers for the Pomeroy family. They're kind of family, kind of friends of ours, and mother died unexpectedly this week and left the, everybody's just kind of shocked.
Prayers for the Pomeroy family. Yeah, good.
And this could harm my whole family, but I've recently been struggling with like how to handle when Jimmy goes into like a rage or has just like some things that wouldn't really be considered normal for his age. And along with the prayer thing, I just like for myself, I've just been, instead of like saying like praying to God like why is he like this, like why aren't you fixing him, like stuff like that, I just started like praying and asking that he sheds light on Jimmy and like helps him find the easiest way out of making bad decisions, and that Jimmy can be strong through it all, because that's really helped me a lot. And like that's what I ask for prayers for myself too, that I can just be strong. And everyone has things to deal with, like everyone does, and you can ask for them to be taken away, but chances are it's not going to happen. So the most you can really do is just try and be strong and ask for that.
Well said. Everything said. And prayers for you and Jimmy and all that you said. Just like to ask you personally, Maria's getting close to the end, we hope, of her master's program. It's been very stressful last month or so. If you haven't noticed, try to hide it, but it has been. And but she's hopefully coming around a corner, but not really sleeping. And you know, some of those of you who've done this type of thing, a master's program, you have like this final project dissertation, whatever you call it. It's just terrible. I don't know why we do this to ourselves. This is where we lose our humanity, in my opinion. But anyway, so just prayers for, you know, for me and for her, that we can support each other and find some time to sleep, and that whatever happens with us, we were talking about today, it's, you know, whatever happens, it happens. Like I was saying the other day, this is 80 pages of, you know, but you do it, and the most important thing is how we are as people, right? Because the 80 pages, they ain't going with you, right? It's true, it's true, it's true. And then I'd just like to ask, in general, prayers for our congregation. I'm thinking a lot about what faith means for me, and I encourage you to do that as well, as it pertains to our community of faith. because I know we're in this slow burn of trying to find a new space and sort of live into what that will look like. We're doing, some reorganization. We're talking about how do we define leadership and membership and all these things. But in the end, it's kind of like what I care about the most is people, and what we do as people, how we support each other, and what we do for those we're connected to in our community. So just I'm rambling a bit, but I just think a lot about that. What does it mean for me to have faith in this community? So I'm just holding that out there. It's been on my mind a lot. Not in a bad way, just been on my mind. So I'll continue sort of good vibes and prayers and thoughts about our community as well. All right, I'll start the prayer. I'll leave a space for you if you wish to say names of people. You can do so. Let's be in a spirit of prayer. God, wow, thank you for a story that is pretty short, but brought out so much in this conversation today. May what was said today continue to be something we talk about and think about as a community and as individuals. And God, we thank you for, at least this is my perspective, God, that you meet us where we are. If we're in a place where the word faith really is, no, it's not a word we are ready to really be something people around us, then may that be so. May that be something we sort of accept. And for those of us, God, who are still struggling with, whether you're there or not, may that struggle be also real and honest. May we be frank about that struggle. Thank you for giving us room to do that as a community and as people. And now, God, we ask that you would hear names of people in our lives who are in need of healing or connection or community. God, hear these names we speak to. All this we ask through the great healer. Amen. All right, friends, real quick. We have some announcements, stuff coming up in terms of the life of our community. Real quick, we will be having this Thursday a meeting for those who are interested in leadership and taking a more active role as a volunteer in our community of faith. If you haven't responded to that, please talk to me today if you can. Touch base with me about it if you're interested in it. For those of you who've already responded, I will be sending you the link hopefully by this afternoon. It's just a financial thing I had to work out to get it done. So we'll be sending that link to you. It takes less than 30 minutes to take the online assessment about your 5 strengths. And so it's a very quick thing that you really won't, I think it's really beneficial to you as a person too. So there's even an app. Once you do it, you can get a book for free. It's an online book, Kindle version, whatever you choose, PDF. And then you can have an app on your phone, which I have, which is really good, that has your strengths according to the assessment, and you can sort of play those out, think about what they mean, and how you can sort of work towards focusing on those strengths and embracing them. Anyway, so that's coming up Thursday. We have Manna on June 11th. Yes?
Yes, we do have Manna on June 11th, and a lot of people have signed up for that, so that's great. And I was just going to say, it says on the sheet from 9:30 to 12:30, but if you can only come, if you have to leave early or come later and you're wondering, can I still come? Yes, you can. So the sheet is filled up, but we're always happy to have more people. But the important thing is that I asked for dates for the summer, and July, August, and September. September 10th is fine. July 2nd is the only date that they had open for us to come in and work the morning, Saturday morning soup kitchen. So that's the holiday weekend, and I have to let Janae know tomorrow or Tuesday if we can get at least 5 or 6 people. So I have faith. People will sign up for July 2nd, or else we're going to have to cancel. We won't be able to go in July. And then August 20th is another date, and all the sheets are up there. Dean and I will not be there, so we need at least 6 other people to come and help out. So it's a great time. We're trying to get other people involved. If you know people who might be interested, please give them a call if they're not here on Sunday morning, and I will talk to them.
Thank you. Philly Share Food Program. We'll be going there June the 25th, which is a Saturday. If anyone's interested, please see Mari, me, or Caroline. We'd be glad to let you know about that. Other announcements that I missed, things coming up. Yes?
Well, this is, can I make a plug for the
You can do a plug.
Bucks County Choral Society? Next weekend is the final concert of the concert season before the summer break. It will be a musical theater at Broadway. Because of that, we're not singing at Our Lady of Guadalupe in Doylestown. It's not religious enough for them.
And there might be jazz hands involved. So,
right.
yeah.
So it's going to be at the new Life Science building at Delaware Valley University in the nice auditorium there. It'll be on Saturday at 4 o'clock and Sunday at 4 o'clock. So 2 performances. And we have 2 stage performers, actors coming in to do some parts of it. And so it's going to be music from Carousel, Les Mis, Wicked, Miss Saigon, and a medley from Jerome Kern.
That's next weekend?
Next weekend.
Saturday and Sunday, Delaware Valley.
And Sunday, yes. 4 o'clock.
Come see mine and jazz hands. All right, friends, this is, oh yes, Joe. Sorry, Coach.
Well, I'm sorry that it's on the same night, but there's a softball game next Thursday. It's at Kemper Park in Warminster on Valley Road.
All right, friends, this is your time as you feel moved to give to the ministry of UCC Warminster. We do pass the plate. We always say to you, you can give in many different ways. You can also give online as well at uccw.org, uccwarminster.org. Sorry. Let's bring our gifts.
So this song is about the healing that God can bring us. And again, this is still not the opportunity to process it. Chance to look at him and say, I trust you.
as you go from this place, may you discover that you're part of something bigger in your relationships, that those relationships matter, that they matter to God as well. And may you be willing this week to struggle with questions too, wherever you are on your journey. So go from this place, and may you be open to new connections with people you don't know this week. Random ones. When you're giving blood, when you're at the Wawa, wherever you are. Random connections with people. May you be open to those. And may the God who created us to be in relationship with each other and with the world around us be with you. And may the Jesus who not only healed, but turned and was amazed and surprised by people he wasn't supposed to be amazed and surprised by. So maybe he's amazed and surprised by you, even when you don't feel it. And may the Spirit, that Spirit which surrounds you, walks before you, knows where you've been, and still is with you, sits with you in all those horrible times, good times, and in between blot times. May the Spirit be yours now and every day. Amen.